Hello and welcome to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 158, and we are once again speaking to Matt Savage, who ran the events at the World Series of Poker during the boom years, has spent more than a decade as the executive tour director for the WPT, and is a perennial nominee for the Poker Hall of Fame. Let's get into it.
Boys, we got a bleeder in aisle 6, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay on my pots, I'm drunk and I'm pissed.
For the best the poker world has to offer, subscribe to PokerGO now.
Your super high rollerball 7 champion, Daniel Negreanu.
Oh yeah!
Wheels are coming off.
That's the craziest hand I've ever seen.
The World Series of Poker, high stakes poker, no gamble, no future, and so much more.
What was that bite?
Sign up at PokerGo.com using promo code CARDPLAYER to get $20 off the first year of an annual subscription now.
By now, you've heard about Global Poker, one of the fastest growing online card rooms available in the US and Canada today. So what's stopping you from trying it out? Global Poker is a safe and secure social poker site that uses their own patented sweepstakes model. Signing up is easy. You can use Google, Facebook, or just an email address. You can always play for free on Global Poker, but you can also buy gold coins for additional play, which will earn sweeps coins that can be redeemed for real cash to a bank account, Skrill account, or even as a gift card. Get a free 5,000 gold coins when you sign up right now at globalpoker.com.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales both on and off the feld.
Yes, Matt Savage is the executive tour director for the World Poker Tour. In fact, when I caught up with him a couple weeks ago at the Wynn Poker Room in Las Vegas, he was running the WPT Alpha 8 High Roller events. But he's also the co-founder of the Tournament Directors Association, which helped to standardize poker tournament rules in card rooms all over. Every 2 years, tournament directors from around the world get together for the TDA Summit, where they discuss the biggest issues they are facing and whether or not any rule changes or amendments are needed. This year's summit was held at the PokerGO studios at Aria and featured numerous topics including the big blind ante, the process for joining an already running tournament, masks and wearable tech at the table, random card theory, and just how late should late registration go. If you missed the TDA Summit because you were busy with that other huge event running across the street, you can actually watch the entire thing on YouTube at Savage Tournaments. Fair warning though, it is 13 hours long. So if you ain't got time for that, then keep listening for the cliff notes. I also talked to Matt a bit about his nomination for the Poker Hall of Fame, his 9th overall. Spoiler alert, he did not get chosen. The honor went to a very deserving Patrick Antonius. But that information was still a few days away when we recorded this. Anyway, that is enough intro. Here is my conversation with Tournament Director Extraordinaire, Matt Savage. I'm here with the one and only Matt Savage for a third time, I believe, on this podcast.
Absolutely.
And once again, we are back to talk TDA, the summit. What number summit was this?
This was summit number 11.
11.
Yes.
So not 11 years, though. You guys have been around for a lot longer than that, right?
Right. We did every other year except for the COVID year. That year was 3 years difference.
Okay. Founded in
2001.
2001. Okay. So for those who haven't listened to the original, or maybe they're brand new to poker, what is the TDA? What was your involvement in founding it, and what is your current role with it?
The Tournament Directors Association was started in 2001. It was basically an idea that I had because I was playing tournaments, and everywhere I went, the rules were different. So in 2001, I went to the World Series of Poker. Actually, the first time I ever stepped foot in there was in 2001, and went to the tournament director, Bob Thompson at the time, and his son, Robert, and asked if they thought it was an idea that would fly. They both kind of, scoffed at the idea, thought it was something that had been tried before and never would really work, but I was a little more persistent. And
how are we all gonna agree?
Yeah, I was a little more persistent about it and went to Linda Johnson, who had the World Poker Industry Conference, something that she had been doing already. And luckily enough, she gave me a venue to tie it onto the back of it. So The original founders of it were me, Linda Johnson, Jan Fisher, and David Lamb, a respected tournament director at the time, and since left the business. But we kind of started with just a small group of 25 people. This year at Summit number 11, we had over 250 registered, 165 showed up from 6 continents and over 30 countries were in the room that day. So it was exciting for me to see such a new group and a worldwide group of people that have come and love the game of poker and respect the rules.
And at this meeting, it's not just talking. You guys actually do vote on stuff, right?
We definitely have some votes. There was a lot less of that this year than in years past, but a lot of clarification. And what I like to say is there was a lot more enforcement of the current rules that we have that was kind of getting lax over the years and needed to be tightened up quite a bit. So a lot of discussion on that.
And what is your technical title with the TDA?
I would say I'm more of the TDA president and chairman, that type of thing. I kind of get the group together, hosted me and the TDA administrator, Mike Bishop, is a big part of that as well. Linda Johnson has been there from the very beginning. But now our board consists of 10 members. We did add a new member this year, which is Toby Stone. He's the reigning tournament director of the year and the tournament director for PokerStars. So having the World Poker Tour, PokerStars, and the World Series of Poker all on board with this, along with the Asian Poker Tour with Lloyd and Neil Johnson, and the Brazilian Series of Poker. So we have Latin America pretty much represented with Devenir Campos. It's a big part of what we do, and the global expansion of the rules of poker is something that I've always thought was super important.
So everyone on the board's got a day job, a different little section of the poker world that they represent. You, of course, are the executive tour director for the World Poker Tour. Right. How are things going there?
Excellent. We had a couple major projects that we've had in the past. We've got the Alpha 8 going on right now here.
That's
at the
right.
Wynn,
We're here at the beautiful Wynn, Las Vegas for the Alpha 8. There's some high roller events going on behind me.
Yeah, I like to say the best view in poker during the summer right here in this room. We have a couple major things that happened this last year. We had the WPT Voyage, which is an amazing event, and
I kept saying I hope they bring back a poker cruise that everyone wants to be on. Finally,
it
right?
was.
I missed the Party Poker Million days. So
yeah, it was awesome. It was an amazing experience. Which I do need to say, rest in peace to our friend Kurt McPhail, who actually just passed away a couple days ago. Oh. He was heading up that project, so a very big loss for us on the World Poker Tour and for the WPT Voyage going forward. But wanted to say that. But that and where we're at right now, the World Championship has been a major thing that we've put together, not only with our Win our partner, but with the World Poker Tour as well. So a lot of things going on there. So I'm excited about the future for the World Poker Tour, and we've been around for 22 seasons this year, and excited to see what comes up this December and in the future.
All right, well, let's get into some tournament news, because obviously you guys all got together a little over a week ago and came to some decisions. Let's talk about the big blind ante.
Yes.
Because it is kind of shocking how quickly that was adapted worldwide.
Right.
It makes you wonder what other major changes can we make in poker that just immediately get overturned.
Yeah, I give full credit to the big blind ante, to the Aria, Paul Campbell, and PokerGO, and those high rollers. And really, it's something that I kind of popularized by taking it to the commerce. I talked to South Florida, I talked to Borgata, I talked to people in Northern California about bringing this out, because I think it's something that is very important, that not only makes the game more consistent, but speeds it up. A lot of what we talk about at the TDA Summits for over the years has been about the speed of the game and how it's gotten slow and how that's not fun for recreational players. And Big Blind Ante really covers that. But one of the big sticking points with the Big Blind Ante was a simple, small part of it, which was, should the ante come first or the big blind come first when you're all in and short of the big blind? And I am always the guy that was on what I feel is the correct way of doing it, which was ante first. So I was pushing for that the last two summits to make it so that would be our recommended procedure, that the ante would come first. Now the problem is with that is that people like the World Series of Poker, the PokerStars, were doing it blind first. Why were they doing it blind first when I felt that it was technically incorrect, and they might even agree the same? they say it was better for the players, that the players all agreed that that's the way it should be because it helps the shorter stack player. It gives you the chip in a chair story. It's better for recreational players, all of those things. I don't know how you feel about it yourself.
Well, the argument was, the other side was, if it's ante first, then you can only win your ante if you're all in.
That is
if
correct.
You're the short stack.
Yes.
So you're basically, it's a free roll to lose.
It's a free roll to lose, but at the same time, if you are out of the big blind, you would pick up the entire ante even if you had less than a full blind. And that's why I feel like it was technically incorrect. But that being said, I made a major push myself to make it big blind first because I feel it's better for the players if it's standardized and all the same. Now, a lot of people out there were saying, well, you've been pushing for ante first for years. Why would you change your mind? And a lot of people in the room, it was actually about 20% said, absolutely not. We're staying with ante first. It's the right way to do it. And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed. And for 1 hour, we discussed it and went over. I got a few more people at one side. And in the last, I said, is there anybody that can't live with it? It's not a big deal. And one hand went up. They can't live with it. We're not changing it. And so we took a break. We came back and we pushed him, pushed them, pushed them. And that's kind of the way a lot of the rules happen with the TDA. If you feel it should be one way, but for the benefit of the industry, for the benefit of the players, we can all get it the same side. We got it to the same side. And now the WPT's recommended, or the TDA's recommended procedure will be that we are doing big blind first.
Big blind first.
And so that, there it is.
Blind. If you don't have the ante, oh well.
There it is.
It is always surprising to me, and the TDA Summit is a great example of this, to have so many experts in a room disagree so passionately on polar opposite sides of something.
Absolutely. And, you know, we have a wide group of players, tournament directors, card room managers, poker room managers from around the world that come in, and they are set in their ways. It's something they've done forever. This has been the way, you know, we talked about stud rules, making it double bet on 4th Street, and the stud players are still after me for that, for changing that and making that. You know, it's not just me that's agreeing with these things. It's everybody in the room has come up with this procedures and things that we feel is better for everybody if we're doing it the same. And
one of the surprising ones I saw right off the bat when I was watching back the TDA Summit footage, which is available, by the way, on your YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
What is that, Savage Poker?
Savage Tournaments.
Savage Tournaments. So you could actually go back and watch all 13 hours of the TDA Summit if you're out there listening. But right away, right off the bat, there was a major disagreement on when does a tournament begin for a player? Is it when you buy in, which is what I thought, naively, or is it when you sit down at the table and the dealer or a floorman gives you your chips?
Yeah, what we're seeing a lot now, and especially with Big Blind Ante because it affects much more, is that with late registration being open so long, which is another full discussion that we had. I
got it in my notes.
am completely opposed to late registration being open so long, but this is where we are, is that deeper in the tournament, when you go by your table and you see that I'm coming in with a shorter average big blind stack than everybody else did, do I want to sit down and take the big blind right away? No.
Yeah.
So I'll walk by the table. Now players at the table say, hey, that guy's at this table, get him over here, make him take the big blind. And so that was a big argument. And I thought we were all on the same side of, when you buy in, like you thought, they have to go directly to the table. They can't make any they can't go to the bathroom. They can't walk by and see that they had this big blind. Or they can't go by and see that their table is short and wait for more players. And Linda Johnson was on the complete opposite side. She was saying, no, I do it myself.
Yeah.
If I see that I go to my table and I'm going to be the big blind, I won't take my seat. I'll just stand there and wait. And so it was like an eye-opener for me. I had no idea that so many people were on different sides of that. So how do you feel?
You know, I'm almost in the middle where I feel like if other people are going to dodge the big blind, their first big blind, then it should be okay to do that as well. My issue was how many floor people thought it was okay to unregister from the tournament because they didn't like their table draw.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
I heard some prominent TDs speak out in favor of, you go to your table, you see that it's all crushers, and you just say, I've decided not to play this tournament.
Yeah, I'm completely opposed to that.
Me.
And so that was something we would never come up with a rule for this year, maybe the next summit, and 2026 we can, because maybe people will come to their senses and say, this is not correct. You shouldn't be able to unregister. But the one thing that they were firm on, that if you did unregister, you could not re-register.
Yes.
And I feel like,
yeah, you can't come back later when the table is softer. Which
I
is
feel
good,
like some
but
of that's going to slip through the cracks. There's no way somebody's going to know if they don't have a gaming system that blocks that. How are we going to police that? To say,
or if it's the next starting flight or a later starting flight in the day or something like that.
Exactly. So it's one of those things that we didn't agree on, so we couldn't come to an agreement. It's something we couldn't put in because people feel differently. So yeah, I agree with you.
And obviously, not everything is one size fits all, right? Some people are dealing with 25-player high rollers, and some people are playing with 2,000-person low-stakes fields. So, and staffing is always the biggest issue, right? Like, do we have enough staff members to make sure we're following all these procedures and checks and balances?
And that was my thing when I was at Commerce. We seat the alternates. So you come to buy in, you get an alternate, and I'll say, okay, you take this player with their chips to the table, sit them down, and they have no option.
Exactly.
You can't blind. They go right to their table. They're not going to the bathroom. They're not doing anything else. It's a beeline to the table. Yes, it takes a little more staffing, a little more patience, but I always use it as an opportunity for the player to look at their receipt, say, hey, Julio, welcome to the Commerce, like for instance where I did it. Welcome to the Commerce. Here's your seat. Get to the table. Here's Julio, everybody. Say hello. Drop their chips down, and they play. And that's the way I like it, and that's the way I suggested people do it. And I kind of got, a lot of reaction. We don't have the staffing. We don't have the people. We don't have enough people to do that. But I think that is the best way. I'll die on that hill, and I'll continue to do it that way where possible.
What about, and you guys did bring this up, and I can't see the downside, posting. Make every late entrant post when he comes in, so it doesn't matter.
We talked about that. I always feel like you want to get people into the tournament as soon as possible. Let's say a table's 5-handed, and now you have people coming to the table and they have to post, so you have to wait. Now they're continuing to play short and all of that. I decided I just don't like it. I don't like it. I think there's other reasons why you don't want to do that. Again, you're trying to get people playing poker as soon as possible, and I think that the best way to do it is to get them to the table. But this is going to be a discussion for the Summit 12, I can promise you.
We'll see in 2 years what happens with that.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the great example of like everything's being done still in today's age differently from property to property. So make sure you check. Obviously you implement as much TDA rules as you can with the World Poker Tour. But not everybody follows every rule to the letter, right?
Well, I mean, we're trying to get more and more now, and we had a long discussion with Jack Effel at the World Series of Poker this year because he's unable to attend, and I hate making rules that won't be used by everybody in the TDA. So luckily, Jack and Troy Iverson, who we met with, were on board with almost everything, so that was wonderful. And the fact that they do a couple things differently, maybe we want to look at doing them the way they do it on the TDA. And so that was a great discussion we had there. And like I said, as many properties we getting use like as 100% of the TDA rules is better for everybody. It's better for the players. And so we try to do that as much as possible.
You brought up late registration. I know you feel strongly about this, and it's a huge discussion on X/Twitter right now, especially with the WSB main event having those day 2 by late registry. What is the word I'm looking for here? Registration. Late registration. What are your thoughts there? How much is too much?
Look, I'm on the WSP side for this 100%. Look, they're playing 2-hour levels. Every tournament pretty much in the world, including live and online, has late registration. You can get into the World Series of Poker with 50 big blinds. A lot of places that we work and go to, Oliver, you can get there with way less. The only restriction on their side of it is it's 2-hour levels. So you're actually getting in at a better stage of the tournament, which I think.
Look at this. Pass the sugar.
Yes. Joe Hashem, how you doing? I think you're in tomorrow, by the way, Joe. I think you're in. Okay, so I think the fact that they have the 2-hour levels, people are actually getting in the middle of the day if you had a normal registration tournament. Yeah. So I don't think there's big issue with that. I think it's correct. Mataso disagrees with me, and a lot of people agree with him. A lot of people agree with me. Should you be entered on day 2 of the main event? I think it's perfectly fine.
Do you think there is any advantage at all to buying in at the last possible second?
Yes, I do. But I don't think that you're buying at the last possible second of the main event if you lay register. Again, remember, they play almost a full day and a half before they make the money.
Right. I'm talking about just in general, any
I do believe. And we're running the Alpha 8 here. A lot of people register at the last second because they're closer to the money. And all it takes is one double up in your average stack, that type of thing. This is something that we have to look at as tournament directors. Is late registration open too late? Should people be registering at a specific time or for a certain big blind level? I think that you would say that how late is too late? Should you be able to register with 10 big blinds? I don't think so. Some tournament directors think you should. Why do they think that? Because they're getting more reentry. They're getting bigger prize pool.
The operators want to keep it on as long as possible.
They're getting more revenue, and I believe that that's incorrect. I think us as operators should look to pull that back. I've always thought that 25 should be the last time you should be able to register, 25 big blinds. Some people feel like it should be 15. Some people feel it should be 10. But I think if you're getting too close to the money, I just honestly think it's wrong for the players, and certain people are taking advantage of it.
It's interesting because the prevailing thought was always the worse of a player you are, the more variance you should seek. So if you're a bad player, you want to be late registering because you don't want to be in there with those sharks for longer. You'll just be more exposed.
But that's the opposite.
But it's the opposite of what's happening because the amateurs, they want as much play as possible for their dollar, whether it hurts their EV or not. And the pros are trying to maximize their hourly, so they're getting in there at the end.
And that's Matisso's argument too with the late registration of the main event, is that everybody should play the same amount of time. He actually feels that everybody should be there before the start of the tournament and have to play all of those things. I totally disagree. I know people, myself, many people that have jobs, have businesses, have things to do outside of that. So them coming in on day 2 makes sense. They can't take 2 full weeks off of work or from their business or from their life, from their families to do that. So giving them an opportunity to come in later makes sense. And the same thing with tournaments all over the world. If you have places like Los Angeles where people, the tournament started at noon, they have jobs, they want to come in later, there's traffic, there's all of those things. So having some late registration is fine. Has it gotten out of hand? I believe so. Do we keep registration open too long? I also believe so. But I don't believe that Matisso is right about this one.
In the high rollers, they had situations where tournaments just wouldn't run sometimes because only 5 people were there to start and they would just get canceled. Meanwhile, there's 25 people waiting at home for 5 p.m. to show up, and it would have ran otherwise. So PokerGo fixed that by dropping the rake if you got there on time. That's not realistic anywhere else.
Right.
How do we incentivize people to get there on time? What about a little extra in your starting stack?
We've heard this for years. People show up time, a little bonus stack, that type of thing. I don't think that's the way to go. I think you should keep it even across the board. I like the fact that players that show up on time and those events that have satellites, that those satellite winners are taking their seats at the beginning. Recreational players like to play. A lot of people that come and play poker tournaments is because they want to play poker. And so those players are the ones that show up on time. It opens up another issue that I'd like to talk about, which is the reseating of people that come and register late is another issue entirely. But I think that, giving them some incentive to come early. I don't know, maybe you give them a breakfast buffet. Maybe you do something out of like PokerGo does and give them a little break on the rake. I don't like giving more chips. I think that it should be a balanced, fair field at the end. And of course, I think as an operator, you want to know how many chips are in play at all times, and other players should have that same opportunity. So I don't like that, but I do think that getting people there on time is super important. So anything you can do to make that happen is a good thing.
All right. I also do like, by the way, a dealer bonus for extra chips. I was always a sucker for
You like
those.
that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I like it's making everybody tip up front.
I think it's awful.
And they get a little extra chips for it.
I hate it. Because it's not an incentive. Everybody has to do it. If you don't do it.
But it goes to the dealer, so it's fun.
Right. So just take it out on the front end. You don't need to do that. I always hated that. I think that's a terrible system. And I've never done it.
Matt's
we'll never
down
do
all my ideas.
I
have one. One hill I will die on, but we'll get to it later.
Okay.
Where'd you guys land on dealers automatically announcing bet sizes?
that has already been a recommended procedure. I understand why some places can't do it. There are a lot of break-in dealers in Las Vegas at the summer because there's just so many poker players. There's so many tables being played. So it's very difficult because if the dealer makes a mistake on that, now you have an issue. We are sitting right here at the Wynn. I feel like all the dealers are very, very good. And it really is a added benefit for the players. I think if the dealers are counting bets and raises, it speeds up the game. It makes the game flow more easily. There are players that have vision impairment that need to hear that. I think that there's something that should be a fundamental part of the game, is that dealers are counting bets and raises. When we use our action clocks on the World Poker Tour, it is required that they even count all ins on that situation. So they count it and then they start the clock. So there's no pause of the clock. There's no pause of the action clock. But I do think that it's something that we should all look for our dealers and staffs to do across the industry, and I think it should be that way.
I thought that was interesting that it isn't announced during all-ins, and why was that?
Just because it wouldn't be necessary if a player had a mountain of chips.
Okay.
Something that I'm also against, by the way.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was because it was like too influential on action or something.
No, I think that it was just the actual fact that the player would have to shove out all their chips and the dealers have to break it down and do all of those things. But here's the thing. If the dealers aren't announcing the bets and raises, what happens is somebody bets on the other end of the table, and now player sits there and thinks for 30 seconds and says, how much is it?
Yeah.
And now the dealer's got to count it anyway.
Immediately ejected from the tournament.
Exactly. But that happened and was happening before we implemented that the dealers should be counting bets and raises as a recommended procedure. Now, a recommended procedure on the TDA Summit means that not everybody has to do it, but it is recommended by the TDA that happens.
Poker Stories is brought to you in part by Resorts World Las Vegas and their beautiful 30-table poker room. Experience the thrill of the game where high stakes meets luxurious ambiance. Located right on the Las Vegas Strip and featuring free parking for Genting Rewards members, Resorts World is a $4.3 billion property that offers world-class gambling, dining, and entertainment options. To learn more, visit rwlasvegas.com. Resorts World Las Vegas. Rule the game.
Hi everyone, this is two-time World Poker Tour champion Jonathan Little, and I want to tell you about my training site, PokerCoaching.com. Poker coaching is the place to be if you want to increase your poker skills and learn to crush the games. It's the only place to quickly increase your win rate with active learning, so you can achieve your full poker potential without having to hire an expensive coach. Right now, podcast listeners can score a free membership by visiting PokerCoaching.com/cardplayer and get access to top training tools like our interactive hand quizzes, our 7, 14, and 30-day challenges, and a roster of elite coaches such as Matt Affleck, James Romero, Burt DraftGanger Stevens, Michael Acevedo, and dozens of others. Again, that's PokerCoaching.com/cardplayer to get your free membership right now.
Now, what do you do when things aren't adopted that you institute? Like, I remember Heroes was supposed to take over for Horse. It was voted on and decreed on Mount High by Matt Savage that horse tournaments would be called Heroes from here on out, and nobody listened.
It's a recommended procedure.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we are changing the wording on that it should not have to be called Heroes. It can be still called Horse, but you should be playing it in Heroes order. There's nothing that says, and this is the most ridiculous thing to me, not the most ridiculous, but it is ridiculous, that people feel like you have to play it in the order that it's announced. You don't have to. You can still play it in Heroes order. It still remains Horse. It's the same 5 games that we have always played with Horse, and that's the way people should be doing it. Change the name. Don't change the name. I don't care. But play it in the correct order.
Play it in the right order,
yes.
Right? All right, makes sense. Okay. All right, let's talk about masks at the table.
Okay.
We all know masks aren't going away. I don't know if Ike is here behind me yet.
He is. Okay. He's still in the Alpha 8. They just made the money.
So obviously there's different levels of covering your identity. I don't think anybody's allowing you to Phil Lockett these days and dress like an old man. What can you get away with? What do you think you should be able to get away with? What can you even legally police?
It was a long discussion at the TDA also. Of course, we're never going to have masks taken away. And it's a huge political sticking point on all of that. And I think that's all nonsense. It shouldn't be political. People should be able to wear masks if they feel like they're not feeling well, if they feel like they need to protect themselves. Absolutely, I'm all for it. Should they be wearing a specific kind of mask? Maybe.
Yeah.
Should we be providing a medical grade mask if players are wearing, those masks that don't work? Maybe. Are people wearing masks because they are trying to cover their identity and not because of any of those reasons? Yes. So these are things that all need to be discussed. Yeah, masks aren't going anywhere to stay. Should they have to wear a certain grade? Maybe also. I just think that what I don't want is I don't want people wearing a mask, sunglasses, and a hoodie or a hat and all of those things together because they're completely obscuring their identity. One of the rules that we adopted was one that they used right here at the Win, and I think it's rule number 17, is that players cannot fully obscure their identity, and we have the right as a property to ask you to remove certain items from your face if it's completely covering your identity. We have surveillance needs and all of those things, and I know that the argument will come back that once you are identified by surveillance, should you be able to put all that stuff on? I don't believe so. Poker is a game where there's information given away by things that you are wearing or things that you are not wearing on your face, and I think players should be entitled to those things. With the technology and all of the things that are out there now, are there certain items that you could wear on your face, like sunglasses, that could be recording devices, that could be used for nefarious reasons? Yes, it's happened. We've seen it. So let's get together and decide as an industry what should be allowed and what shouldn't be allowed. And we have basically put it into the TDA that it is up to the property to decide. But we've given the rules and the regulations out there where you can decide what is appropriate for your property. And I think that we've done a good job with that. So you'll see that as an addition to the TDA rules this year.
Phones came up as they always do, what phones are capable of. But as you brought up, wearable tech is even less, traceable. And, it's not as simple as looking for the person with their phone open during a hand anymore. But that being said, if somebody is in the middle of a hand with their phone out, are you in favor of harsher punishments for those people to send a message that...
I am in favor of that. I think that the enforcement got a little lax, and it is a little lax. And like I said, I'm one of the biggest offenders. The tournament that I played this year during the summer, I was on my phone constantly. Should I be on my phone? Yes. Less? Yes. I mean, absolutely. If there was a rule that said I couldn't be on the phone at the table, would I obey it? Yes. But
you look at the study charts,
and
Matt.
Time. Again, we've heard over the summer that players would not play if they couldn't use their phone at the table, that they need to be on the phone talking to their family, talking to their business, which I think is silly.
Yeah.
If that ever came to that where you couldn't have the phones at the table, which may come in the future, didn't get agreed upon this, people could stand away from the table and take those calls or answer those situations that they need to. I always use the argument of when you go to a movie and you're there sitting there for 2 hours, are you on your phone? No, you're not on your phone. So could you make it to the break without using your phone? Yes, you should be able to make it to a break. But yeah, there are cases coming and there will be stories that break that people are using cheating devices on their phone, on their ring. In pens now have cameras, all of these things. Things are going to come out. And I believe that we'll be talking about it at 2026 at the TDA Summit. How far is too far? Technology is going to stay ahead of what we're doing at the poker table. Could this be a major influence or a problem for the future of poker? I believe it can. So technology will outpace us all. And, we need to be careful as operators that these type of things aren't happening. So many, many places have already gone to the rule where you can't have any electronic devices or any device of any kind on the table at any time. And I
wonder if it's not so much a matter of making rules to make cheating harder, but rather just increasing punishments to make cheating not desirable. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You got a Jonte Porter, anybody who crosses the line.
And we have We have rules in the TDA now that are for that. We do not want anybody using charts or graphs at the table at any time. The win right here has a little stronger policy. You can't use it anywhere in the tournament area. I pushed for that. I pushed that you couldn't use it in the tournament area. But people disagreed and thought that that was a little too harsh, and that would create people walking around the room and saying, hey, he's on his chart or he's on the phone. And so we couldn't get agreement on that. But we do all agree that it can't be used at the table. So if you're going to use those things,
rush of seeing that they were right,
they have to be away from the table, and I believe that's the correct way.
All right. Is there anything that you thought, should have gotten resolved that didn't, or that you think is going to be a big issue moving forward?
Yeah, I would have liked stronger language on both of those things. I thought that we could push for that and get it through. But again, the TDA is not there to tell you what to do in your poker room. We are there to try and make it better for the players. And so those type of things were something that I thought that we would get and we didn't get. There was another kind of obscure rule where a dealer puts out a flop without putting down a burn card.
Yeah.
Should the flop stay no matter what? I thought we would get that through. There was some discussion and argument on that.
Everyone always wants the original. What would the original
I know,
card have
and
been?
it's so silly.
Who cares?
I think it's so silly. And that's why we changed the pre-exposed turn card last year to be the same.
But you'd think it would be for everything. It would make sense. So
it does, and it does make sense. And random card theory, and Lee Jones from poker.org and formerly of PokerStars is a big proponent of that. And he comes there just to discuss random card theory. So, yeah, it's something that we're always pushing for on the WPT, or the TDA, but it doesn't always come to pass. And that one didn't get passed through. I thought it would.
Okay. Well, I got to bring up one last note. I had heard you guys talking about splitting prizes during hand-for-hand play when there's simultaneous bust-outs. My only note I wrote here was that you were all crazy. I think paying a different amount based on how many chips you had before you went broke is bonkers.
Yes.
It's bonkers.
Yes.
Why do we care? Why do we care how many chips you had? You're out of the tournament at the same time as that guy.
Yes.
You should get the exact same prize. I will die on this hill, Matt.
You're on this side. You're on my side of this.
You agree with this?
100%.
You think it should be split every time?
I think it should be split every time unless you're on the same table.
No. I take it one step further than that, too.
Really?
I don't care about your chip ever.
Wow.
Ever. It doesn't matter. You have 0 chips when you busted. So does the other guy. You have a tie. You should have the same prize.
Interesting.
It doesn't matter how big your chip stack was. And who cares?
Interesting.
It doesn't matter.
I'm going to add.
Of a tournament isn't to accumulate chips. The purpose of a tournament is to last the longest.
I'm going to add that to the conversation for 2026.
No one will agree with
Julio Rodriguez.
No one will agree with that one.
Well, the problem was we talked about if 2 players busted on one table and one on the other table at the same time.
They should all split the same prize.
They do.
Yes.
They do all split the same prize.
All 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if they're on the same table and it's only 2, then it goes by chip count.
Right. So in one scenario, somebody benefits because somebody random on another table happened to bust at the same time, and in the other scenario, they don't. Does that seem fair?
You got a good point there.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have a good point.
We got to talk a little bit about the Poker Hall of Fame.
Okay.
It's a few days away from hearing the announcement. How many nominations is this for you now?
Only 9.
Only 9.
9 times.
They say the 9th time's the charm, right? How you feeling about it? And
I don't think I won. I think that they have an event coming up, which is the Hall of Fame event.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that they tell the person who won, can you be there? Will you be there at that time? And I haven't got any phone calls.
Yeah.
And I know Jack Effel and Ty Stewart have my phone number.
They know you're in town.
And they know I'm in town. I don't believe that I will win again. The process is the process.
Yeah.
It's been talked about on every single podcast from beginning to end. They used to bring in 2. Now it's only 1. Would I have been in had they stayed 2 every year? Probably. Will I get in this year? Probably not. Will I get in the next year? No, because there's other people turning 40.
Next year, I'm 40.
Julio's 40 next year too. Oh my God, I'm getting backed up even further.
Me and Scott Seaver are gonna create a log jam up there,
and Nick Schulman and all these people. Is 40 too young? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or do people have played for until they're 40, stood the test of time, which is one of their requirements? Probably not.
Yeah.
it's all those things, you know.
That's what I always thought was so
I love it. I don't care as much as I used to. Like I always say, I really wanted to get in when my parents were alive. They've both since left us, so that was kind of a sad thing. My wife is at the end of her wits about me telling her every single year that I got nominated again. She goes, "Why do you care? Why do you care?" It's a legacy thing. Yeah. It is nice to be nominated so many times. And listen, if you get in, do people bring your name up every year? No.
Yeah.
So now they're still bringing up your name every year,
That's
right?
That's true. You become the Susan Lucci of
absolutely.
Of
me and Mike Matasso as well. But maybe Mike Matasso gets in this year.
Maybe.
But the thing is that it is a legacy thing. It's something it'd be nice to pass on to your children. Do I feel like I deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Yes. Do I feel like the process is broken? Yes. Do I think that some people at the World Series get some joy that I feel that the process is broken? Yes. But I love those guys. Jack Uffel and I are friends and friendly. I think that, it's just something that going to get talked about. I also feel like there's nobody in the world that would do more with the promotion of the Hall of Fame had I got in, because I feel like I got a public voice that's out there year round. And I think that those people should be honored. I think it is an honor to be in the Hall of Fame. But I don't think it's promoted as well as it should be. Should there be more of a physical Hall of Fame? Yeah, probably.
Absolutely.
They should be doing more.
There's plenty of room down there, guys.
Yeah, and there are people in the world that are historians, and Jesse Fullen is one of them that has all of this memorabilia that could be awesome for that. He should be the curator.
People could just bring it with them every summer.
Absolutely. It would
hire
be amazing.
one security guard to watch a few old school bracelets. You sell some hoodies in the gift shop with Doyle's head on them, and then you're good. It's great.
And it is. It has become the World Series of Poker Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, which is fine. They own it. So
I wrote an op-ed. If anybody wants to read it, it was called the Poker Hall of Fame is broken. Here's how we fix it. Guess what? They didn't take any of my advice. They didn't listen to any of my suggestions, which would have completely fixed all the issues.
Yeah, Chad Holloway has his thing that he brings them every year too. It is what it is. It's like
what about
I said,
if the TDA Association came up with their own Hall of Fame just for industry people, writers?
Oh, that's not bad.
Poker reporters.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that. You've been around a long time. You've been doing this. What podcast is this? What number is this? What episode?
I don't know. I took a little bit of a hiatus during the summer. It's over 150, I think, at this point. And
so absolutely, and a lot of the writers, like you, have said in the years past, you guys used to have a vote. I don't think that you
we don't have a vote anymore.
Yeah, you used to have a vote.
And I think that was designed for a reason. We used to be able to split 10 votes amongst the candidates however we wanted. And, I was one of the people who voted as well. And that got taken away. And now you have a very homogenous group of voters who are all friends with the same people. And that's just going to perpetuate the same thing where, not as many women, not as many Euros, not as many industry people.
I do feel super strong about that, too, that there's not enough European players, not enough worldwide players.
Yeah.
That got David Chu. I mean, huge for poker
he got a nomination a few
China.
times and then kind of fell off. And it's hard to imagine him ever coming back.
Joe Hashim, who we just saw here, massive for Australian poker, which is a huge market for us and on the World Poker Tour. Bruno Fatoussi, France and Europe, massive influence. John Duthie. These people really have done so much for the game.
Oh, Barney Boatman
Chris
got
Bjorn,
nominated this year.
Barney Boatman, the Hendon Mob. I love the list of people that are on there this year. Do they all belong in the Hall of Fame? Probably. I just think it's it's a broken system. But I'd like your idea. I do like your idea.
Just saying, you could start your own little club.
Yeah, that too. And that would be cool. We need money. You got money for this?
I mean, I'll put in the first $5. How about that?
Absolutely. I just think it's. It's kind of silly to have these arguments. But again, it gives some people something to talk about. So, yeah. Would I love to be in the Hall of Fame? Of course. And, good luck to whoever gets in this year. And I hope it's me, but I don't think it will be. Patrick Antonius, a great choice. I think he's the one that's going to win. And that gives a little less credibility to the fact that people that say it's only the WSOP, because Patrick Antonius, I don't think he has any bracelets.
If he does, it's like a random European one that I'm not aware of. But yeah, it's hard to omit one of the biggest cash game winners of all time.
Right.
So
absolutely, and a great guy, and of course the most handsome man in poker.
I feel like people like that, people like you, the slam dunks, why don't they should just age in.
Yeah.
We shouldn't even have a voting process. It should be voting process for marginal people.
Well, my good
and that should
buddy
be done
Mike
behind
Norrie
closed
said,
doors.
all I got to do is fake my death. You got to go hide away for a month.
Unfortunately, that helps.
If I fake my death, I'm in for sure. So that's what he said.
And you could even come back and it would be fine. Everyone just call it the greatest bluff of all time.
I like it. Mike Norrie's
He's
really,
forgiven.
He's pushing me.
He got it through.
He offered me $10,000 to fake my own death this year. I thought about it.
Mike Norrie doesn't have a good history of prop betting, so
yes, exactly.
should probably leave that one alone. Matt, thank you so much. I'm gonna let you get back to the decision making behind me.
Absolutely.
Let you
Thanks,
DQ
Julia.
one of these high rollers for
Appreciate
fun.
it. I want to be your most tenured guest.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's been on more than 3 times.
No, I don't think so. I think
right.
we had Negron you at 2, so you just broke the record.
Absolutely awesome.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
That's it. That is the show. Thank you once again to Matt for taking the time. Make sure to check out Savage Tournaments on YouTube to see the full TDA Summit, and follow Matt on Twitter/X at Savage Poker. You can also find him on the World Poker Tour, which includes the season-ending WPT World Championship this December at Wynn Las Vegas. You can follow us at Card Player Media and visit the website for the latest gambling news, player interviews, and our massive tournament database. And of course, you can read a brand new issue of Card Player Magazine for free every 2 weeks. See you next time, and thanks for listening.